Hey guys, Jules here for WhatCulture.com with another episode of the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. The show that does exactly what it says on the tin in the most annoying way possible. You're very, very welcome. Now, we have got some very weird stuff going down this week. A Raw that was so bad that even Simon Miller couldn't be positive about it. A superstar who might have boiled himself in his own hot water. And some worrying news on NXT UK. But the question is, what will win the now coveted Most Insane Thing of the Week award? Well, there's only one way to find out, so let's crack on and hit that intro. Okay, so Lars Sullivan is now slowly making his way onto the main roster, being teased as a new muscle head with an attitude. However, this week, thanks to local rags backcombing through his personal history, there's been some pretty uncomfortable stuff that's been unearthed. Now, across the past few years and on several bodybuilding message boards, Lars has dropped some pretty questionable lines, more so than you could probably count. He said that KFC was for poor people. He thanked Stephanie McMahon for providing him with videos that he could wank over. He called out Bobby Lashley for steroid abuse, and then went on to detail the following. And this is a direct quote. Some blacks want to take advantage of their great-grandparents' misfortunes, and they want a piece of the pity pie. Gross. And on the subject of suicide, he had this to say. If you choose to kill yourself, I would suggest taking out other people with you. I'm not saying you should go on a rampage on, say, a college campus and try to top the kid from VTech, but at least take out some pussy before you die, if you know what I'm saying. Now, these are quotes from a decade ago. The internet has changed, and hopefully, so too has Lars. However, that's some pretty awful stuff, right? I mean, we know that employers check the backlog of many people's social media presence before hiring them, so it's any wonder how this will affect the freak. It may well be that the WWE ignores this. I mean, after all, Vince has shown that he too had a thing for his daughter back in the day, what with that horrible incest angle, but the WWE sponsors might. And if they pull out, then so too will the push behind Lars. Then again, he also wrote on those message boards that CM Punk was a severely overrated prick, so that's probably actually his WrestleMania 35 main event penciled in. Weird, right? This week, Triple H, the cerebral shagger, took a sledgehammer to the United Kingdom independent wrestling scene. Now, Wrestle Talk, the good boys that they are, broke the news, stating that the WWE has reconfigured a lot of the contracts for the people that are signed under the NXT UK brand, disallowing them from working any and all unapproved promotions, i.e., the promotions that they actually got started out in and in many ways led them to be of interest to the WWE in the first place. Now here's the thing, the talent pool is incredibly deep in the UK scene, and I for one am actually loving what they're doing with the NXT UK brand. However, by limiting where your contractors can work, you're also limiting what resources there are to develop their skills. Not everyone is going to be at the top of their game, at their peak on the roster. That's the whole point of the promotion. But if you're now saying that X wrestler can only work for like 3 promotions, then you're going to be shutting yourself off from wrestling experiences at other gigs. It also comes down to exposure. If you can't appear at certain shows, then you lose the chance to win over that area's fans. And while the WWE might be thinking that this will draw people back to the NXT shows that they're on, what it might end up doing is alienating those wrestlers from the scene itself. And finally, we have to admit that the WWE product definitely has a different style to many other promotions, and this sanitation of that style might actually see a decline in interest as people just end up seeing the red, blue, and yellow brand as just one homogenous product. I mean, it's what they're going for, isn't it? They want it to be the same thing to market it. But fingers crossed, this is a temporary change in the contracts that will open out once the brand is established. However, if we actually think about it, Trips is probably indeed following Vince's footsteps, and we might see NXT create an island that will let everything else just sink around it. R.I.P. Blighty, right? Sad. Now comes something a little strange. The next two entries on this episode are dedicated to the towering turd that was this week's Raw. And before you say, Jules, you silly man-child, it wasn't that bad, I just want to point you out to the official Wikipedia page for Milwaukee, which was actually changed after the event to say that this Monday was the day that wrestling died. All joking aside though, it was pretty rubbish, and we begin by talking about another piece of rubbish, Nia Jax. Now you all know my thoughts on this woman. She's injured most girls, thank you Adam Wilborn for that, and you all made it clear with your views when I asked you to convince me that she's a good talent, and the majority came back saying that she was absolute tosh. But while she is an accidental monster blundering her way through the roster, which she's described as her being on a roll, she ain't on a roll by the way, she's a bloody loaf and she's cutting dire promos that are deliberately shitty. But worst of all is that she pulled Ronda Rousey into a crushing black hole of talent, because when Rousey came out to confront the #facebreaker, creative had her act all scared. Why would she be scared at all? She's still the Raw Women's Champion. Yes, she suffered a beatdown, but she's still undefeated. Nia isn't even in her league, so to have her say, "You are lucky that the time and the place and the person on the receiving end of that punch changed the history of the world," made little to no sense. It was incredibly cringeworthy, and I too will break my own face from my palm going right the through it when these two square off in a likely, boringly average match. That's part one. Now for part two. Right, this next one, I don't even understand why it happened. We all remember that moment when Drake Maverick, aka Rockstar Spud, aka the 205 Live General Manager, pissed himself live on telly. It was unexpected to say the least, but it happened and we all thought we could move on from this piss-poor moment. Well, not the WWE, because they smelt the sickly sweet scent of yellow gold and decided to turn the taps on once more. This time, in an effort to get himself over as a heel, the cheeky whippet himself grabbed one of Bobby Roode's robes and took it to the back in order to take a piss on it. This caused a distraction which allowed the AOP to capture a win over Roode and Chad Gable. Now at this point, I'd like to say something along the lines of, well, on paper, this actually could have worked. But let's be honest, the only thing true about this segment was that it was piss poor. But for me, it's not about the fact that he did a wee-wee like a little 5-year-old. We all know that Vince loves a bit of bodily humour, except sneezes for some reason. No, it's entirely the actual practical implementation of the angle. The AOP are currently the tag champs, right? They are monsters and they should be absolutely dominating at this moment in time. Yet the fact that they needed their little mate to scurry away to slash over some dude's robes, it beggars beliefs. I'm not being stupid here, am I? Well, if I am, I'm doubling down, because you know what? This tiny troublemaker that takes a tinkle to help the tag team twats. Yes, are you having a giraffe? Pretty proud of that one, actually.
And now to our foreign correspondent, Phil, with Giraffe Watch.
No giraffes here.
Thank you, Phil. That was as weird as I thought it was going to be. And now to end on a lighter note, or at least one that seems at first comical, but actually hides a pretty worrying truth. 2018 has not been kind to Kevin Owens. The man hasn't had a meaningful storyline in ages, and his only really engaging moment was cut short when his pal Sami Zayn was shelved due to injury. He's been neutered by the likes of Shane and Steph as a heel, and he got these hands in almost embarrassing fashion thanks to Braun. Now Owens is joining Sami on the bench as he tends to a knee injury which many speculate could lead to a lengthy recovery. Hell, he's even lost his Twitter banter crown to Becky Lynch in recent times, so it's not even sure what position he'll return to when he makes his comeback. So, is it any wonder that he's gone a bit mad in his downtime? As this week, Canadian Kev popped off at none other than Elton John of all people, who unfortunately had to cancel some shows due to an ear infection, one of which that Kevin and his wife were going to attend. Owens challenged Elton to a showdown at WrestleMania, stating, "I fought men in their 70s before and I can do it again." Not only is this a truly hilarious image and obviously a joke, but it does highlight something quite weird. The insane thing is that given his current stock and the way that he's been treated, pulling the likes of Elton John into a match with him is probably the only way that Kev is going to make it onto the card. It's a bit of comedy, but it's masking the sad truth, and it's for that odd reason that I award Steen starting on a septuagenarian, yeah, that's what you call a 70-year-old, the most insane thing award of this week. Look at it shine. Bless you, Kev. You're a nice guy. I hope you recover quickly. And there we go. Those are the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Now to close out the show the only way I know how, by reading my favourite comments from last week's episode. And there were a fair few. But a special shout out to the Fortress of Awesome Tube, because this is like a running joke. It started off with him saying, Ember Moon is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. Then it got longer the next week. And now we're here. Ember Moon is thicker than peanut butter that was left in your car overnight in a snowstorm. Then you realise you forgot the peanut butter in the car, so you go out to get it. Then you bring it back inside and notice that it's already frozen, so you stick it in the cabinet to thaw out. So a little later you decide that you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you put your jelly on that, and you go to put your peanut butter on only to try to use it, and the knife bends from the thickness. She's that thick. Jesus. And why not do some birthday shout-outs as well? This one is from Andrew Lindsay, who says, birthday shout-out, you say, I'll be 33 on the 30th of November, St. Andrew's Day. Just FYI. That's right, a 33-year-old asking for a shout-out on a wrestling YouTube channel. Well, wish granted. Next up is Luke Eldon, who says, you enjoy ignoring me on Twitter at LELDDD. So there you go, you get some followers there, so don't say I don't do anything for you. You cheeky little scamp, who says, so how about a birthday shout out for me, as it's this Thursday, the 29th of November. Well, it's retroactive now, but happy birthday for then. James Wilson points out, the award needs to be a giraffe. That's actually a really good point. I'll probably get Phil to change that when he's back. Yeah, thank you. Next up, we've got Mikkel Halvorsson, who says, in a response to a question that I asked on last week's episode, which was the most insane, deathmatch weapon that you've seen, who said, a drugged up alligator in a deathmatch in Japan was one of the weirder ones. Oh, and Madman Pondo once used a dildo with spikes on it. That's going to take a moment to process. Another birthday shout out to Harry Alsop, who says, Jules, my 20th birthday is on the 5th of December and it looks like I'm spending the week alone. I don't know what message I'd ask for, but anything would absolutely make my week. Well, you know what, mate? You're never alone when you're watching this, because we're all a little family. A very weird, disjointed, some would say mutated family. But we love you just the same. And weirdly, we've got one from Nora Brandt, who says, well, it won't be my birthday, but my divorce will be final on December the 2nd, 2018. Ironically, and totally unplanned this way, it's also our 13th wedding anniversary. Can I get a shout out from getting out from under his fists? Much love to you, thanks. Much love to you. I laughed, but I shouldn't have laughed because it's quite a dark subject, but still, thank you so much for sharing that. And you know what? You're free! We're all free! Free to do whatever we want! I might go and kick Adam Cleary. I probably won't, because he'll fight back. Anyway, massive love to Michael Sidgwick and Adam Nicholas for their writing and editing duties, respectively, and to you lovely people at home for watching. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It truly, truly means a lot. You can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and as always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!